Did you really expect this?
No, definitely this was going to be a close contest. The kind of vote share NDA had earlier, it was really difficult for Tejasvi Yadav to meet that challenge, to fulfill that gap, and then overcome this and come out with a victorious margin. So definitely, it was going to be a close contest. While traveling on the ground, I realized that there was support for Tejasvi, no doubt. Undoubtedly, there was support for Tejasvi. People were angry against Nitish Kumar government. Jobs were the issue. Migrants were the issue. And they did well also. I mean, you can see that reflected in Grand Alliance numbers. They came close to 110, 111 mark. On the other hand, the vote bank of Nitish, especially women vote bank, and the schemes of Prime Minister Modi, that worked on the ground, especially after the first round when they were said that, UPA has done well or Grand Alliance has done well in the first round. In second and third round, the campaigning from the BJP and the JP side was quite hectic. They were managing things on the ground, booth level, management were done, and that paid off, I would say.
Rakesh, do you really think this Chirag Paswan game was some kind of a plan by BJP, because it was kind of too risky a game that they played, if at all they played it?
By attacking the JDU, he was also in a way helping the BJP, because that was pinning all the blame for the anti-incumbency on JDU and on Nitish Kumar. Yeah, instead of the BJP. And that is why BJP has actually done much better than last time, because the anti-incumbency blame did not come to the BJP. So Chirag Paswan has definitely played a role in creating this perception.
But then the question is, what now for Nitish Kumar in BJP? Where do things stand?
Yeah, so now Nitish Kumar cannot call the shots, because BJP has larger numbers, almost like where Nitish Kumar was in 2015. So he cannot dictate terms to the BJP as he has done in the past, because BJP and NDA will also be concerned about the next election in 2025. And the anti-incumbency which was there against Nitish Kumar and JDU has not vanished. But I don't see him completing that 5-year term as chief minister. There's likely to be a change of guard somewhere in these 5 years.
Anshuman, you have been there on the ground. Do you really see some kind of anger in RJD towards Congress for the kind of seat bulk that they intended to contest and the response that they have got?
Yes, there is a sense of despair among the RJD people. Because when the talks started of the seat sharing, RJD was willing to give 50 seats to Congress. I spoke to RJD State President Jagdanand Singh yesterday, and he told me that we were willing to give them 50 seats, but the central leadership of Congress demanded more. And at one point of time, we thought, okay, let's move on. So the 70 seats. So they were thinking that had Congress done a little better, things would have been different. So the other allies or the partner, left parties did well for RJD. On the other hand, Congress just dragged it. The problem is that, RJD cannot move without Congress. They have tried it in the past also. You may accept it or not, but there is some sort of upper caste vote, or there's a small section of upper caste vote that comes to RJD only because Congress is with them. They need Congress with them to get that upper caste vote. Going forward, it will be like the same, but definitely the share of Congress in the alliance will definitely go down.
The fact that CPI-ML is never accepted by the mainstream left, the CPI and the CPIM, as an equal brother. So, while the mainstream left has continued with its demise, with its fall, it still got only 2 seats each, whereas the CPI-ML has got a much better strike rate. Do you think now the left will be ready to accept CPI-ML group as an equal partner in their way forward?
To talk about Bihar, CPI-ML has always been a force in Bihar, and it has always been a major force than CPI and CPM. At one point of time, CPI used to be a bigger force in Bihar. You talk about early 80s, late 70s, CPI used to be a big force. But going on forward, when this class struggle started happening in different parts of Bihar, this Naxal movement and class struggle in central Bihar, parts of, UP bordering Bihar in Siwan and Gopalganj district, similarly parts of Mithilanchal. Then at that time, CPI-ML was called IPF, Indian People's Front, and it developed a lot of cadre support on the ground. So it has a huge cadre base as compared to CPI or CPI-M on the ground. But barring 2010, CPI-ML has always registered its presence in electoral politics. Their cadre mobilization really has helped RJD and Congress also in the central Bihar region. And in the first phase, CPI-ML contested 7 seats. They won 6 out of that. So definitely, winning 12 seats is not they contested 19 seats. This could definitely give them a free, to come equivalent to those partners, definitely. And how this will turn the table structure or sitting on the table, that is yet to be seen.
Modi versus Rahul. The influence of Modi does not seem to reduce, and the influence of Rahul does not seem to rise.
See, Narendra Modi swings the election for the BJP in many states where the party is not in good shape, where it does not have charismatic leaders, it does not have leaders who can get votes. So the party has heavily depended on Narendra Modi's charisma to get votes. And Bihar is the most recent example of that. Rahul Gandhi, on the other hand, actually pulls down the organization. It was Rahul Gandhi's idea to contest 70 seats. He prevailed on Tejasvi Yadav. Had Congress fought on, say, 50 seats, maybe the Mahagathbandhan would be in a much better position today than being forced to sit in the opposition.
I would talk about recent campaign in Bihar. Narendra Modi did 12 rallies. I can say now that in places where BJP was not very strong or the alliance was not likely to perform very stronger, it was Narendra Modi who made that difference. He in his rallies, in his speeches, he spoke to the youth, he spoke to the women, he addressed them. He tried to convince them that, look, I have done this for you, and going forward, if I come to power, if India comes to power, these things will continue. And people listen to him. On the other hand, Rahul Gandhi addressed few rallies. No one even noticed what did he say. He was talking in Purnia, one of the rallies in Purnia, and all his rallies, be it in Bihar, be it in Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, or any parts of the country, his template is very straight. He starts talking about China, he starts talking about Rafale, and all those things. They hardly make a connect and impress the crowd. Just look at Tejasvi's tablet. Look at his speeches. 5 to 10 minutes of speech. He'll not attack the Prime Minister. He'll not talk about China. He'll not talk about any other thing. Only thing he'll talk about is jobs. He'll focus on jobs. He does not go beyond what he has decided to speak. He does not play he plays on his own pitch. And that worked for Tejasvi. No matter whether he's forming the government or not, but that has definitely made him a leader in Bihar. And he gave a template that if you talk about local issues, if you try to connect to the people on the ground through their issues, understanding their issues, then definitely they come to listen to you and even vote for you.
You would also agree that this election has brought has at least ensured that Tejasvi Yadav exists as an independent entity with his own influence and coming out of the cocoon of Lalu Yadav. That has happened.
So BJP may have won NDA may have won the election, but Tejasvi definitely controlled the narrative to quite an extent during the campaign. So definitely Tejasvi Yadav has come into his own and he has emerged as a leader. He was fighting against the whole central leadership of the BJP and of course the state leaders of the BJP and Nitish Kumar. So definitely credit goes to Tejasvi Yadav for that. And in future we are going to see more of Tejasvi Yadav in Bihar.